California has now become the first state to outlaw what is called stealthing, or what most people would call rape. But specifically, it's the non-consensual removal of a condom during sex, which was legal. The law was signed by Governor Gavin Newsom yesterday, making it a civil offense under state law for someone to remove a condom without their partner's consent. The new measure amends the state's civil code, adding the act to the state's civil definition of sexual battery. It means that victims can sue perpetrators for damages, including punitive damages. State Assembly member Cristina Garcia, who sponsored the legislation, says for a majority of the people, it's like, yeah, it makes sense that this is immoral and it should be illegal. And apparently she decided to write this bill after reading a law journal article by Alexandra Brodsky back in 2017. That got people talking about this. And I wanna read just a small segment from that article that says, the experience of realizing that your sexual partner has no concern for your autonomy, your individual dignity, your right to make decisions about who you have sex with, when and how, that's a terrible violation regardless of whether a physical injury occurs, regardless of whether a pregnancy occurs. And apparently, according to one study in Australia in 2018, 1/3 of women and about 1/5 of men who've had sex with men had experienced stealthing. Jason, what do you think about this?
This is not new. Like, first of all, I support this 100%. I think that this is good because I know people who have been victims of stealthing and have ended up with diseases that aren't curable. Pregnancy can happen, but also there's HPV, gonorrhea, herpes, HIV. Like, there's a lot of things that go along with this, and I support this 100%. I think that consent is real. Have a conversation if you can about how you want to have sex and what that entails, and then proceed with the sex. But stealthing, no, should not be happening. I'm in full accordance with this.
I cannot believe that it was just like, whatever, I guess. No. It's frowned upon, but I guess you can, no, that's crazy. Mm-hmm. Consent is not consent to everything. Right. Everybody understands that, even if some of them might be right-wing a-holes who will say that they don't get that. Let's test their definition of that in a different direction, see if they believe that consent is consent for everything. It's not. You get to consent to particular things, and even once the act of sex is started, that is not where consent no longer is a concept. We should all get this, and it should be reflected in the law, and I'm glad that it happened. And thank you to both Cristina Garcia as well as Alexandra Brodsky for helping to not only get this conversation started, as you point out, it's not a new thing, we do need to talk about it, but maybe now that it's passed in one state, it might pass more broadly. And so that is certainly good news.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.